Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us. We are pleased to welcome you to the committee process from application to appointment. Today's session is designed to give you a clear overview of your committee application process and how appointments are made at Florida Realtors. Our goal is transparency. When members understand the process, they can apply with confidence and position themselves for meaningful service. Today, we have our whole leadership team here with us today, and we'll have an opportunity for you to ask questions a little further in the program. Here's what we will cover. First, we'll explain the application review process, what happens after you submit your application, and how the review is approached. Next, we'll discuss appointment considerations, the factors the leadership team weighs to build strong, effective committees, and then we'll share best practices to help you position yourself for success. And finally, we'll walk through real-world examples so you can see how these decisions are made in actual time. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to our president-elect, George Guerra.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Why committees matter. Committees are the backbone of Florida Realtors governance and operational excellence. This is where most of the organization's work happens, from shaping our legislative priorities to strengthening our professional developments to elevating our industry standards and member engagement. Committee services also builds leadership. It gives members a statewide network, a deeper understanding of the association, and experience contributing to decisions that affect the profession across Florida. Florida Realtors committee structure. Florida Realtors committees are organized into several categories. Number one, permanent committees. These are required by Florida Realtors bylaws and general policies. They often have limited number of spots each year. Standing committees, they're approved annually by the board of directors, and they're typically larger and take a deeper look at core areas of the organization. One of my favorite, legislative think tanks. They focus on legal and legislative issues impacting our industry. Ladies and gentlemen, most committees run a term of 1 year with opportunities for renewal based on performance and committee needs. Active participation and regular attendance are expected. And if you're exploring options, then the committee website is the best place to review missions, duties before you rank your preference. Making a balanced committee roster. A key part of the appointment process is building a balanced committee. Florida Realtors strives to match committee candidates' qualifications with the right committee opportunities, ensuring both committees' member success and organizational effectiveness. We evaluate several key considerations, including experience mix, geographic representation across 13 districts, and the value of diverse professional perspectives. Balanced rosters strengthens committee effectiveness and ensures members across the state see themselves represented in a governance structure. Best practices for applicants. Number one, here are a few that consistently strengthens applications. First, make sure that you have a picture. Second, seek leadership opportunities that demonstrate initiative and readiness to contribute, whether it's locally, regionally, or on a state level. Third, clearly articulate your expertise, your interest. Help us understand, what you bring to the table. And finally, submit thoughtful rankings. Research various committees, rank them based on a genuine interest and fit. Strong applications should reflect both passion and service, preparation, and to contribute meaningfully. Application service history in detail. Service history is probably one of the most important components of an application, and we review it holistically. A strong service history shows progressive involvement, consistency, or consistent engagement rather than isolated activities. Quality matters much more than quantity. Certain permanent committees, such as finance and executive, require a stronger foundation of demonstrated leadership and governance experience. At the same time, applicants without extensive histories are not automatically excluded. This leadership team also considers emerging leaders, and we evaluate potentials alongside demonstrated experience.
So let me tell you a little bit about how the rankings are used. Your committee preference rankings play an important role, and it's helpful to understand exactly how they're used. Applicants rank their top 5 choices from first to fifth. Rankings matter because they signal your interest and help guide placement. However, rankings are not a guarantee. The leadership team must also consider committee needs, experience alignment, and balance considerations. A smart strategy is to rank committees where your skills and backgrounds generally match what the committee needs. That improves the likelihood of meaningful placement. Here is a high-level view of the application process. The annual application period opens on Monday, March 2nd, so next Monday. Eligibility requires being an active Florida Realtors member in good standing, and some committees may have additional requirements. Applications are submitted online, and you'll provide qualifications and relevant experience. Finally, you select and you rank your top 5 committees' preferences based on interest and fit. Here's a pro tip. Don't wait until the last minute. Let me repeat that. Do not wait until the last minute. Applying early gives you time to review your rankings and ensure your applications are complete. At this time, we're going to transition to a live demonstration of the committee application process. Eric Forsman, VP of Technology Services, and Ryan Moody, Senior Application Developer, will walk us through the online process in real time. As you follow along, they will walk you through the application system and highlight key components of the process. Eric and Ryan, thank you for your time. We appreciate your support. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Jeff. I'm trying to share my screen here. One moment. Okay, hopefully everybody can, whoops, that's not it. I apologize. One moment. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen here with the video of George and Jeff at the top. All right, so this is our committee request system, committee appointment system. For those who have used it in the past, it should look pretty familiar, but there are some significant changes this time that I wanted to point out. As we said earlier, a photo is going to be required. So if you don't have a photo, you're going to have to upload one here, or you're not going to be able to proceed. As we said earlier, you basically have 5 choices. You click on the list and you're going to see all of the committees that you're able to apply for here. A little bit different than in years past. You're going to notice now there's going to be multiple rows of information associated with the committees. The committee name, the meeting type, whether it's virtual, as needed, or when it occurs, and what tier it's in, if it's a permanent, standing, or legislative think tank committee. So as I scroll through some of these, some additional information to note is you're going to see some of these committees will also have additional information. For example, Disaster Relief Fund. It says that one member seat is available. So that's new. That's something that we've added this year. Executive Committee, that was alluded to earlier. 10 members are available. 10 member seats are available. 1 AE seat. Finance Committee, 4 members, 1 AE seat available. So we try to provide more information, basically, of what committees are, seats are available, etc. So as in years past, you basically go through, you select all the committees that you are interested in. If you happen to pick a committee that has a conflicting date and time, let me see if I can find one here. It is going to tell you that Community engagement. It's going to basically tell you have a conflict. The dates and times, basically, they overlap. So it's going to let you know that. So you can pick up to 5 committees, as always. There's the qualification section, as has always been in years past. One new item this year. You're going to see 4. If you haven't ever completed your what we call the bio fields, you're going to see 4 new pieces of information that we're going to ask you to fill out here. Service area and specialties, professional experience, professional education and designations, and personal comments. So basically, please fill out those fields as George and Jeff said earlier. This type of information is reviewed by the leadership team and is important in the making decisions for the committee requests. So that is the last item. This has been here for a while. You are going to need to click on, and you're going to need to scroll all the way through the harassment-free business environment statement. And once you get to the bottom, you can then click on the checkbox there and then actually submit your nomination. I need to fill in information here, but that's basically how it works. And then once you submit your nomination, you're going to get an email, and then Florida Realtors is going to get an email. So that sums it up.
Thank you so much for that, Eric. We appreciate that. After you submit your application, let's get back into the PowerPoint if we can. I'll give it a second. So after you submit your application, it enters a comprehensive review process. We review applications holistically after the submission deadline closes. The leadership team meets regularly to discuss candidates and make preliminary assignments. The goal is to align applicants with appropriate committee opportunities while maintaining balanced rosters. Once appointments are finalized, all appointed committee members receive email notifications of appointed decisions. This ensures clear, consistent communication to the members. So what do we consider when making those appointment decisions? The appointment process balances multiple factors to build committees that are effective, representative, and prepared to do the work. We consider committee experience. Prior service shows familiarity with the committee process and collaborative decision making. We consider skills and expertise. Specialized knowledge and diverse perspectives strengthen committee effectiveness. We consider mission alignment. Candidates whose experience and interests align with committee goals are prioritized for those assignments. We consider geographic balance, reflecting Florida's diverse markets across the state. And we consider broader association involvement. Active participation locally or statewide demonstrates readiness for state-level service. No single factor determines placement. It is a full picture. With that, I'm going to turn that over to Fernando now to go through some mock committee scenarios.
Great to see so many of you here. Thank you guys for participating. And now that we've reviewed the framework, let's look at a few mock scenarios to see how the appointment process works in real-world situations. Mock scenario number 1 shows a clear alignment case. The applicant ranked Finance Committee as their number 1 choice and previously served 2 years on finance. They also bring extensive committee history and fill an underrepresented district gap. On the committee side, there are 2 open finance seats and a need for experienced members. In situations like this, where committee need aligns with experience and ranking, placement is straightforward. It supports continuity and it strengthens the committee's effectiveness. As we move to scenario number 2, this is what we consider to be a competitive selection case. The applicant ranked public policy as their number 1 choice. It is active in local advocacy and shows strong potential, but has minimal state committee experience. The committee reality is that there are 14 qualified applicants for only 3 seats. Several applicants have prior public policy experience, and the applicant's district is already well represented. In cases like this, the leadership team balances competition, experience mix, geographic representation, and long-term leadership development. The final placement in this scenario is the Legislative and Regulatory Business Issues think tank. This builds foundational state-level policy experience, aligns with the applicant's interest, and strengthens future candidacy for public policy. And now I'm going to turn it over to our very own Cindy Hayden.
Thank you. So now we'll look at mock scenario 3, which highlights what we refer to as a strategic skill placement. In this case, you'll notice the applicant ranked professional development, communications, and the executive committee as their top 3 preferences. The applicant also brings 5 years of committee experience demonstrating sustained involvement and readiness for continued service. However, this individual also possesses specialized prop tech expertise and leads technology implementation efforts at their local board. Experience that is both specific and highly relevant to the emerging organization's priorities. At the same time, the Emerging Technology Committee is advancing a digital transformation initiative that requires targeted technical expertise. The applicant pool for that committee includes very few individuals with comparable experience in prop tech systems and digital implementation strategies. In this sense, the leadership team would look to appoint the member to the Emerging Technology Committee, even though it was not ranked in their top 3 choices, because that is where their skills would provide the greatest immediate value. This decision reflects an important principle in the appointment process. While ranking are thoroughly considered, appointments ultimately balance member preference with organizational need. Sometimes placement is not about the order of selection, but about impact. The objective is to maximize value for the organization while also supporting the applicant's professional growth and the long-term leadership trajectory. When skill alignment and strategic priority intersect, placement decisions may reflect that broader perspective. Now I'll go over some common questions. So first, does ranking a committee first guarantee my assignment? No. Rankings are important, but appointments also depend, as you saw, on vacancies, balanced experience mix, and the strength of the applicant's pool. Second, what if I have no service history? Everyone starts somewhere. We value fresh perspectives, and members should highlight transferable skills, expertise, and genuine interest in the committee's mission. Third, can I serve on multiple committees? Why, yes, but be mindful of committee timing conflicts. The system will flag those overlaps. And fourth, can I submit after the deadline? No. Late applications are not considered after the deadline of 11:59 p.m. on May 15th. Please ensure you get everything in before May 15th. And now I'll turn it back over to George.
Guys, any questions or concerns? First and foremost, I want to thank our team for taking the time out to go through this. I know that Jeffrey took the lead, and there's a lot of questions out there that we wanted to make sure that we answered it with you guys today. So please take advantage of this moment here to ask us any questions, any thoughts, any concerns about the process that you're interested in. Either type it up on the chat, or I don't know if they're allowed to unmute and ask it or not.
So Petra wants to know, can you amend the application after submitting it?
Yes, you can. You log back in, it'll pull your information back up, and then you can edit it.
And that'll answer Carlos's question too. You can amend your application if something changes, like skills or abilities. Can you amend it too, Eric?
Yes, you can.
Great.
Jeff, do you see any other questions?
Yeah. So when it states 10 spots available on a committee, does that reflect the amount of spots available now in real time, or is that an overall total number of spots on the committee?
Oh, that's an overall total spots available.
Okay. Are secondary members considered for committee membership?
Secondary membership would be from outside Florida? Is that the question?
Sandy, if you just want to type back in the chat and confirm, yes, the answer is yes.
Yes.
Is Margie, do you have an answer to that, Margie, maybe?
I think if I'm
Yes. Yeah, go ahead, George.
no, I was gonna guess. Well,
Well, I
educate
can
me.
definitively answer yes, absolutely. A secondary member has all the rights and privileges as a primary member. So we're happy to have you and glad that you're interested in serving. So thank you so much. Please call all of your secondary friends and let them know we would love to have them.
Yes.
Danielle would like to know could we let them know again where the link is to review all of the committees and positions available?
Yeah, if we can post it on the chat, please. Jeff, I don't have access to the chat, so maybe you can just read that for us. If there's any other
Sure, no problem. How does an applicant know if their geographic area is over or underrepresented among applicants? And I can answer that question. You probably won't know, but that is a consideration of the leadership team when making the appointments.
Yeah, good question.
I think I got through all of them here. Does anybody else have any questions? Give it a second. Any follow-up questions? I don't see any more, George.
All right. With that being
We'll
said,
move on. So first, I do know that Chuck Bonfiglio has joined us, our president this year, and I'd like to recognize Chuck. And if Chuck would like to say a few words to the group, and then Margie, I see you too. So let's go ahead, Chuck, if you're available.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mr. VP Levine. Appreciate that. Look, what I'll say is, like Margie alluded to, whether you're a primary member, secondary member, we want to make sure that all our members have the ability to serve this great organization that we put a lot of time and effort in. And just so you know, is the process, 100% complete? No, we're constantly working on it. I just will tell you, we spend a tremendous amount of time each year. It seems like every year is like more and more time trying to perfect the system that we can to make it easier and accessible for you all to fit yourselves in the right spot that you see fit. And there's different ways to do that, right? So obviously you guys have the application process. There's something else too, because it came up today in an event that I was at, which is there's a profile that we look at that we rely on a lot, because it's impossible for us to know everybody. And we do vet each member as a team, but there's just simply some of you guys we just don't know, unfortunately. So one is come up and introduce yourself for one, and two is make sure that profile is filled out, because again, we do utilize that tremendously, not just in your realtor world, but where maybe you have served before. You are a realtor, so that helps us make a decision. So, and then the last thing I'll say is the geographic stuff. So that question was answered, but I want to take it one step further, which is there are some positions that are geographic. The need is based on your geographic area. And we're working with Eric Forsman and the group to make sure that you only have the ability to apply for those positions of need. If that makes sense. So, but yeah, this webinar is great, guys. So thanks for doing this for the members. It's hard to know where to do everything for the members as far as get the word out. We do the videos, we obviously do the online stuff, and now we have this webinar, which is amazing. So we'll keep doing, a good job for you guys to make sure that you have access to your questions and concerns on the committee process. So thank you.
Thank you, President Chuck. And before we go to Margie, two questions that came up in the chat. You can apply for vice chair positions at the same. There's a button for a member position or a vice chair position when you're making that application. I will say if you're applying for vice chair, make sure you explain in the other four pieces why you're qualified to be vice chair of that committee. And the next question, Eric, is where do they update their profile information? Where do they go to update their profile information?
If they haven't updated it before, the four blocks are going to they're going to appear in their application. Otherwise, on FloridaRealtors.org, there's a find a realtor button. They can find themselves, and then when they find themselves, they can log in and edit their profile information.
Thank you, Margie, our CEO. Thank you.
just texted a question and asked whether or not staff members from Florida Realtors are willing or are considered in terms of making recommendations for chairs and vice chairs. And the answer to that is no, is staff members do not have a vote in this process. I will tell you that you don't get to be a member of the leadership team at Florida Realtors by accident. We have full faith and confidence in our leaders to put forward both the best and the brightest to serve at Florida Realtors. So if you're working with a staff liaison and you're thinking, oh, maybe they'll put in a good word for me, listen, we adore all of you, but staff does not have a vote in this process. Thanks for the question.
Yeah, Brian has a great question. On those geographic-based appointments, is it the physical location of where you live or the board that you represent?
Board that you represent. It's based on, it's usually districts. So if we're looking for someone in a specific district, that's what it goes by.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you again, everyone, for your time and your interest in serving Florida Realtors. Your engagement strengthens our organization and advances the interests of our members of all across the state of Florida. As next steps, remember, applying online during the application process from May 2nd through May 15th. And there's always a lot of confusion there. The dates could be different for NAR. These are our dates. If you're applying for NAR committees, follow their process. But our dates are March 2nd through May 15th. Watch for the key dates and reminders through member communications, and please reach out to staff if you have any questions or need any support. Committee information and resources are available online, and our team stands ready to assist you throughout the process. Thank you again for being here today on behalf of the leadership team.